My name is Rufus Zakinyemi. I'm a physician scientist based here at the Neuroscience and Aging Research Unit of the Institute for Advanced Medical Research and Training, College of Medicine, University of Ibadan. I'm also a consultant neurologist to the University College Hospital here in Ibadan, Nigeria.
My name is Oyedunni Arulogun. I'm a professor of health promotion and education in College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and I'm a co-PI on this project.
We cannot talk about genomics without first talking about genetics, which we all learned about in high school, in college. As we know, that genetics is essentially a study of genes. Genes, as we recall from basic science or biology, genes are the units of inheritance. They're the building blocks, molecules that are transferred from parent to offspring that form the basis for resemblance. Why children look like their parents, offspring look like their parents, is this genetic material that is transmitted or transferred from parents to offspring that form the basis of heredity.
When we talk about genomic studies, we are looking at the genes, and genes are what we inherit from our parents. The mother contributes, the father contributes, and that's why we say, oh, we look like our father, we look like our mother, and at some point it's like, when the baby is born, it looks like the father. As the baby is growing, so it looks like the mother again, because both of them contributed to what makes up that child.
When we talk about genomics is a more recent, a more modern terminology that describes the study of the totality of a person or an organism's genes, totality of all the genes in an organism or in an individual. When you are studying the whole genome, what we call the whole genome, that is genomics.
Genomics is the study of these genes, how they relate to each other, how they are responsible for some things that we see in our lives, based on our lifestyle, based on what we eat, based on the things we did over time.
It also encompasses studying the interaction between multiple genes interacting with genes, as well as genes interacting with the environment. So, in other words, genomics describes the study of an organism's or a person's genome, as well as interaction between gene to gene, or multiple genes interacting with one another, as well as interacting with the environment. Precision medicine basically describes an approach of treating individuals with diseases in such a way that you are sensitive, you are conscious of the individual differences in tailoring the treatment to meet the needs of an individual with maximum benefit, maximum with the best outcome, with the least side effects of such treatment approach.
Looking at stroke, when a stroke occurs, the first thing is you want to stop the progression of that stroke. To stop the progression, you need information. And the information that we need to give tailored management to that stroke person, that person that had suffered a stroke, is related to the genes of the person. To be able to say which part of the gene is responsible for this.
We have 2 or 3 people presenting or with the same disease, having the same disease entity, but you may need to now give treatment approaches that differ from one person to another based on their genomic profile. So apart from genomics, they could have differences in their biomarker profile of the chemical constituents of their bodies. They may even have differences that may be psychosocial or based on the environment in which they have grown. So you take into consideration all of an individual's uniqueness in tailoring the treatment to fit.
Somebody has suffered a stroke. Now, we want to make sure that that person does not suffer much deficit and at the same time live a healthier life after having a stroke. That is where the study of the genes come in. It will help us understand how best can we help this person to live a healthier life after suffering a stroke, and to make sure it does not happen again, because stroke can happen again in the same person.
As we know that stroke is a clinical disorder, that is characterized by a sudden onset of neurologic dysfunction. It could be loss of speech, weakness of arm or face, instability, that starts suddenly, occurs suddenly, and may result in disability or death, and usually due to either obstruction or a rupture of a vessel, an artery that carries blood to a part of the brain.
Now, beyond the person, remember we said genes are what we got from our father and our mother. So beyond the person, it means there must be something, there may be something in his or her genes that made him to have a stroke.
Different sets of genes actually predisposed to different types of stroke, either the wet type or the dry type. The dry type of stroke could be stroke arising due to occlusion of a small vessel, a large vessel, or stroke arising from a thrombus that forms in the heart and that gets released to block a vessel in the brain. We now understand from advances in genetics and genomics that these different subtypes of stroke actually do have different genetic architecture. In other words, they have different genetic predispositions.
So studying these genes would help the rest of the family to say, watch it, there's a gene here, there's a type of gene here that if we don't manage it well, another person in the family may come down with a stroke.
Stroke is a complex, heterogeneous disease that is actually a culmination of abnormalities in several biological pathways. So when we see a person coming down with a stroke, it is a culmination of dysfunctions or abnormalities in multiple biological pathways, some of which actually have commenced years before that dramatic event that we see as a stroke.
The study of the genes can help us in prevention of stroke. The study of the genes can help us to say, since somebody in my family has had a stroke and the genetic study, the genomics has shown us that there is a gene that is responsible or that made that person to have a stroke, it means for prevention.
How an individual reacts to this cascade of events is also a function of the individual's genetic makeup. In other words, there are genetic makeups in individuals that predispose them to even developing the conditions that lead to stroke in the first place. The conditions like hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia. There are genetic conditions that make some people more prone to develop these risk factors more than others. And then when these risk factors are present, there are also genetic predispositions that make some people to be more prone to injury to the vascular endothelium than others. Well, that is when a vascular injury has occurred. There are also genetic predispositions that determine how well a person is able to adapt or how well a person heals, how the brain responds to the injury in trying to heal itself.
It gives us the starting point of what we need to do in terms of lifestyle modification to make sure that an episode of stroke does not occur again, either in the person who had suffered a stroke or members of the family.
So you take into consideration all of an individual's uniqueness in tailoring the treatment to fit that. It is not a one cap fit all. It is one cap fits a particular person, and you design different caps for different persons based on their uniqueness as individuals or personalities. So when you apply this principle in health, in medicine, in treating a person with medical disorder, that is the principle of precision medicine.